We rolling. All right. This is Karan. This is Red Karan back for episode 11 of Streams. Thank you for coming back. If this is your first time here, welcome. Please hit the subscribe button. If this is your second, third, fourth, fifth time here, just hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button too while you're here, just so I can get some traction on these videos. But I need them subscribers for sure. I've like more than quadruple. Let me think. I've like 5x, more than 5x my followers or my subscribers on YouTube since I started, which is not saying much, but it is true. 5x. And I'm very grateful for that. I'm very appreciative of that. Thank you for all of your contributions and comments and likes and views and shares and conversations with me about the subject matter or whatever it may be. I really appreciate all the engagement, more than you will ever probably know. Got some water on my phone. But anyway, man, we back. I'm kind of recording late. It's been a few days since I was supposed to be recording on Friday. Today is like Monday. Today is Monday. So I'm like 2-3 days late. Supposed to be recording either Friday or Saturday, but I ended up not being able to. I didn't have the time. I dropped my kids off with their mom on Friday, and I've been chilling ever since, bro. I don't feel bad. I am so relaxed, so carefree right now. They are out of school. I don't have to drive no kid to school at 7 in the morning right now. I'm happy, man. Super duper happy right now. Chilling. The camera can wait. But I'm doing it, though. That's what counts. I'm doing it on Monday. Probably going to drop on Tuesday because it's kind of late. But I'm here. And all of that kind of leads me right into my topic. Today, I actually know what I'm going to talk about. Today, we're going to talk about the concept of hard work. And not in the way that you probably think. The whole no days off philosophy that I wholeheartedly disagree with. I put this in my notes at some point in the last few weeks, and I don't know what inspired it yet again. But regardless, it was something that I wanted to talk about because it is something that I've been hearing all of my adult life. You know, no days off, work hard, grind, go hard. No, don't take no days off, work, sleep when you dead. I never agree with that. Well, I won't say I never agree with it because I've done it. You know, I've done it. I've done it when I was young enough to do it and I had no obligations to any children. I didn't even have, I didn't even have a lot of social outings and interactions to be distracted with at the time. I worked 2 jobs at once, right? I was working one job, it was part-time. From damn near the day that I turned 18, I started working this job. And then I was working this job part-time, making very little an hour. And then I realized, that's not going to be enough money for me to, move out of my mom's house and afford rent and be able to feed myself on just this little $250 paycheck every week. You know, that's not a lot of money. So I was like, I got to supplement this somehow. Right? This was my first peek into really working nonstop. I got a second job to supplement my income where I was making even less an hour, but I was getting more hours per week. So at one job, I was working 20 hours a week. Let me think. Yeah. I was making $20 a week. I was making I was working 20 hours a week. And I don't think we were allowed to exceed that. It was either 20 or 30, but I really want to say it was 20, bro. 4 or 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. And if you were to exceed that, they would have to pay you benefits. So they always capped you at 20 hours. And at the height of that job, I was only making $12.50, whatever. So this was a long time ago. And my paychecks were pretty terrible. Consider all things considered, you know. At the time, it was good enough, but it was still not a lot of money, even back then. So I was like, I got to supplement this with something. So I went and got a second job. I applied to a bunch of jobs. It didn't take me long to find one because I was doing grunt work. I was big and strong. That's all they cared about. Didn't have any educational requirements. It didn't have any real skill learning curve. It was just a grunt job, picking things up, heavy things, moving them, and doing it within a timely fashion. You know, that's what I was good at when I was young. So I found another job, and it was manual labor. I started working those jobs at the same time. And at the height of it all, I was working like 60 hours a week, sometimes more. And in between the jobs, I was sleeping in my car because I would get out of one job at like 4 p.m. ish. And then I would go right into my other job at maybe 5, 6 p.m. So I would have a little window between the jobs, sometimes a 3-hour window. I would go and get something to eat maybe, and then I'll pull up to my second job, sleep in a parking lot, listen to some music, sleep, and then go in there, do a whole other shift, and then go home and die in my bed. This is the hardest I ever worked in my life, besides having kids. This was the hardest I ever physically worked in my life. 2 very physically demanding jobs. I was very proud of myself. I was very surprised with myself with the amount of work I was able to put my body through, and I survived it. I've never been an athlete, so I never really saw the full extent of my physical capabilities until I became an industrial athlete. That's what I call it. I started working in warehouses, and I was like really good in both of my jobs. You know, I was like, I was a goat in both of my jobs. I'm not saying I was better than anybody else. That's not my point. But my point is I used to go into my jobs and give it my all most of the time, not all the time. And back then I had this ideology that the harder you work, the further you will make it. Oh man. I have to figure out how to organize this information in my head. The concept of the episode is workaholics, working hard, no days off, right? So working these 2 jobs, it was all for a purpose. I worked those 2 jobs at the same time to get myself enough money to be able to afford an apartment. I did that 2 jobs at one time. I did that from like March of 2010 to like October, September of 2010. 6, 7 months, I worked 2 jobs. My hours fluctuated, but at the height of it all, sometimes I was working 70 hours a week. You know what I'm saying? The height, 60, 70 hours a week. It was pretty crazy, bro. And this is my first time ever trying anything like this. So I was just doing it without the knowledge of what it meant in the long run, as far as burning out, what it meant for your body, what it meant for your mental health. Right. So I was just doing it as a young man. At 2020, at the time I was 21 years old, full of energy, young, fit, in health, and good health and shape. I was skinnier then, didn't have nothing going on. And I was hungry, most importantly, because coming from a family that didn't really have much, and this is my first time really making my own money as an adult. I'm 21, I got a job at 18. I had a job at 15, but that was just some summer stuff. It wasn't a full-time, year-round job. But my first time working daily, weekly was, for a legal paycheck too, was at 18. So I was hungry. And I learned very quickly that you can't just put yourself, your body, and your mind through anything and be fine. Like, yes, physically I was able to do it. Like I was saying, I was never an athlete. So I was like discovering my limits physically as an adult working these jobs. And I was very impressed with myself and how well I was able to perform at these jobs and how much respect I could get from the staff and some they would delegate certain leadership roles or certain tasks to me that prove that, you know, they looked at me like I was a leader at least or a good worker in the very least, you know. I'm discovering my abilities and how well I can operate, you know, when I put my mind and my body to it. And I learned very quickly that the burnout is real, bro. You know, I did that 5 days a week. Some days, some weeks, 7 days a week. I would work Saturdays and Sundays at my second job. And then Monday through Friday at my other job too. And that wasn't fun, bro. Eventually I found that it was like not worth it because I did work myself in a position to get that apartment. It was like, so I started that job in March of 2010 and I started making that extra money, supplement my income. And I think I had got my apartment April or May very quickly because all I needed was the paperwork to prove that I had the income to be able to provide for the apartment, you know, when they want to do the income check and all that. And I needed some padding, some money in my pocket to be able to, like, you know, to function. So April roll around, I move into my apartment. I believe it was April of 2010. And I get in there and now I'm in this apartment maybe 3 months, what was it? I believe around September, I was like, bro, like 4 or 5 months into doing this, was, yeah, 6 months into doing this, and I couldn't do it anymore. I remember like waking up and like thinking like, bro, what am I doing? What am I doing? It's like my days consist of me just going to sleep, waking up, going to work, going back to sleep, eating when I can, going back to sleep, waking up, going to work. And it's just like this cycle that never stops, right? And I burned out. It took me about 6 months at 21 years old to be like, this is not going to work because I'm losing my mind. I don't have any free time to do anything I enjoy. I don't have time for my girlfriend. I don't have time for myself to hear my thoughts, to stop and decompress, to handle my, you know, chores at home or whatever. I remember calling my second job. No, I don't think I called at all. I think I ghosted, didn't show up. And then when they were contacting me, I gave them an excuse like, I don't know what it was. I made up something. I was always pretty good at lying to my employers because my name otherwise was pretty good. You know, I was a stand-up guy. I would look them in their eyes. I was accountable for all the, you know, I handled my things when I was there. So when it came time to lie, they would believe me. I'd be like, oh yeah, somebody died or I got an emergency in the family. And because my reputation was so good, they would believe me. I lied, right? And they was like, okay, well, come back when you're ready. I didn't know nothing about FMLA. I didn't know nothing about the proper ways to game the system. So I would just lie. Like, yeah, I need some time, bro. I don't know. I got some stuff going on. And I ghosted. And I ghosted them for weeks. This was in the middle of September. And I remember them calling me again, like in October, like, what's going on? What you doing? And I remember I think I told my boss, like, I'm not coming back. I quit. And I think he told me on the phone, I never liked this motherfucker. I couldn't stand this. Oh, let me just shut up. But I couldn't stand him. But I remember him telling me on the phone, like, you're not going to be able to use this company as a reference if you do this. And I'm just like, all right, I'm out, bro. I'm done. I'm done anyway. It doesn't matter what you say. And then I ended up talking to him again. He said something like, he was like, I put it in the system that you gave your 2 weeks anyway, even though you didn't quit properly. I still put it in the system to give you a break. So you will be able to use it as a reference. I'm like, all right, thanks. It didn't matter anyway, because I don't even think I used them as a reference. And then I went back down to one job between September, October, and December when I ended up moving to my second job. I'm being long-winded. I don't know. I'm really just, stream of consciousness. That's the purpose of the show. But I'm just telling my backstory a little bit. But through all of this, I found that it wasn't worth it. Because, yes, I made more money and I grinded for more money. I had more money in my pocket. I was able to afford some things that I wanted, whether it be video games, better food, going out more, taking my girlfriend places, whatever it might have been. It doesn't matter, anything, right? But the amount of wear and tear that it put on my mind and my body, it wasn't worth it. I'm still suffering from some of the injuries I sustained 13 years ago, longer than that. I got scars on my body that go back to 2007, 2008, that barely have healed. This nail right here, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but it has a split down the middle and it's discolored. It's like darker on this side. I'm sure you can see that. Yeah, that's because I smashed this into between two pieces of metal. My nail fell off and then it grew back in two pieces. And it took like 6 years for it to merge back into one nail. But now this half of the nail is dark and it grows weird. I got a big scar on my arm here. I think it was this finger here I crushed in a machine. I crushed this finger in the machine. And when I pulled my finger out the machine, my finger was so flat it looked like a cartoon. This knuckle right here, I split this knuckle open wide as hell. I don't remember how I even did that. I think I hit it. Oh, yep. I hit it on the back of a stove. I used to work with appliances. And on the back of a stove is vented up. Like, it's vented and it's sheet metal. It's like, if you look at the back of a stove, it's these openings in the back. It's like a sheet of metal that covers the back of the stove and there's vents in the back of it. And I was unwrapping it to put it on the sales floor. And I hit my knuckle right on one of those vents, sharp as hell, bleeding like a pig. All of these things that I've done to my body, the amount of damage that I did to my back, my knees ached for years, but I think I solved that problem. My knees ached for years. My lower back. I separated my shoulder blade from my spine, according to the chiropractor that I had to visit through the company to fix my back. I was working one day and I'm like, man, my motherfucking arm feel weird. It's a sharp pain in my back. I still feel it sometimes, but not the way it felt then. The chiropractor / whatever you call that type of doctor was like, yeah, your shoulder blade, this whole little mechanism separated from your spine. He like, it's not really that big of a deal, but you're going to have to rest for it to heal. That's all. I'm like, damn, like even if you feel okay, it's like the amount of torture that you put your body through working these manual labor jobs is something that kind of goes unnoticed because you're just doing your job day to day and you're not really thinking about your body, right? I'm saying all this to say that the mentality that no days off is the way to success is flawed. Because ironically, a lot of the research and the viewing that I've done on YouTube, or whether it be reading or Instagram and looking at these financial gurus or these billionaires or these people that made products, and the way to success is not to work harder, it's to work smarter. It's a very simple concept, It's very cliche. It's something that we've all heard at some point in time, right? But it's a cliche for a reason. It's true. You don't achieve success by running yourself into an early grave. You know, think about that. Think about the people from the early 1900s who working in coal mines, working in, whether it be a foundry, a factory, or whatever, working for GM, Chrysler, Ford, working for Goodrich, working for all of these companies back then. They would almost have PTSD. These niggas used to come home and beat their wives and children and always be on edge, to be drunk to the motherfucker, have to do drugs to take the edge off. Why do you think that is? Because they worked sun up to sundown and they never got a break, and then the conditions that they worked in was all bad. Harder work is not the goal. That's not what we're aiming for. I'm aiming to work less. I want people to work for me so that I don't have to lift a finger. I want to be able to have people work for me, and I just rake in the residuals from that. That's the next step for me. I know that it is. It's just getting there. But the goal is not to work harder. All this no sleep, no days off, sleep when you're dead. It's nothing. There's nothing true about that. Now, it depends on your circumstances and what you're working for too. Because if we're talking about a day job, when have you ever seen a person work so hard at a day job? You know, not saying that never happens, but I'm saying typically. The exception doesn't negate the rule. But typically, when you see people working day jobs, how often do you see them work their way into owning the company, or work their way into being so rich that they never have to work anymore? Especially today. Because back in our parents' era, you could have a single income household and the parent would be able to afford a house, a car, with insurance, have 10 kids, private school, depending on where you work. You know, I know people personally that worked for GM in the 60s and 70s that own several houses based on how much they used to make. You know? But that's not true today. There's houses in the hood that I'm sitting in that cost $250,000. 5 times or more the average person's income. No, way less than that. I'm sorry. 8 times the average income, 7 times the average income. Because I believe the average income of, you know, normal people is like $35,000. It's not a lot of money. And a house go for $250,000 right around the corner from where I'm at. And I'm in the hood. I'm not in the suburbs. $200,000, $190,000 houses. Now, I know that's because of the state of the market right now. But even if we were talking about the cost of living, you go to the grocery store and spend $200 today, your little $30,000 a year is not going far. $40,000 a year is not going far. $50,000 a year is not going far. That's what I used to make in that range, depending on how hard I worked one year. You know, it all depends. I don't know. But back then, you know, the dollar was stretched further. We made more comparatively to the cost of living and inflation. But today, a single income household is only really suitable for a single person. Not a single person, 4 or 5 kids and a wife who doesn't work. It got to be the wife and the husband working, to barely make it, right? That right there should prove right there that it's not about how hard you work. It's about how smart you work. I worked those two jobs at the same time. I quit the second one in October of 2010. And by December of 2010, I had found a better job through my homeboy Antoine. He recommended me to his job, referred me, got me in there. I was making more money per hour, a little tiny bit per hour, but I was working full time. And that one job made me more money than those other two jobs combined. So I got in there, still young. I'm still hungry. At this time, I'm 22. And I get in there, and there's overtime galore available. I start taking it, working, trying to stack. And it was just like, it don't matter how much I work, it still don't seem like it's ever enough. Some of that is due to poor spending habits. Some of it is due to, wilding out, buying shoes and clothes, or going, just having fun. There's nothing wrong with it. But I'm just saying that's the explanation as to why my money would vanish. But that doesn't explain it all away. Because overall, it was like I'm running on a treadmill. Now, granted, I'm doing a little better on this treadmill than other people are doing on their treadmills. I'm able to pay my bills and still have some money left. I'm making pretty decent money. I'm able to get all the hours I want sometimes. But it's like between taxes and the scam of working a 9 to 5 in general, it doesn't matter how much you work. It's not enough. It's all pennies compared to the value that you're bringing to this company. I started that job making $13.50 an hour in 2010. And I would work overtime like crazy. And you get time and a half or double time sometimes. Pretty good money for me at the time, for my life, you know. But I quickly learned that it didn't matter how much I worked. It was never enough, and you could never get quite as far as you want to get. I remember one time at this same job that I'm talking about, I worked a month straight. Now, that month straight did get me a down payment for a car. I was able to save up like a few thousand, go to the dealership and get the car that I wanted. I did that. I am grateful for that opportunity. But then came the hard part, paying the car off for the next 5 years. So what am I going to do? Work every day forever to pay the car off early? But then what about my life? What about seeing my family? Or what about starting a family? Now, if you are going to work every day and you are going to be a workaholic, I definitely recommend doing it when you're young, childless, and physically able to do that. I would not recommend doing that when you're my age now, in your mid-30s or in your 40s, working every day, thinking that that's the answer to your problems. I used to work with this white boy. At my job, they had this rotating calendar of people who worked overtime. Everybody would have their turn, their week, because there was always a need for somebody to work extra. So it would rotate through the shop. Every week it was somebody else's turn. But if you didn't want to work it, all you had to simply do was go and ask around, hey, you want my overtime? You want my overtime? Usually somebody would take it. Notoriously on my shift, there was this guy that would take everybody's overtime. And he would work and work and work and work. And he was pretty good at his job, and they liked him in there. So I guess it was easy for him to be there. It was it was a job, but it was still like he was familiar with everybody. He had camaraderie there. He was good at his job. He was, he had some seniority, so he knew everything. It was easy for him to sort of float through that overtime and float through the job in general because he knew everything. He was good at it. He had been there a while. They liked him. They would give him an easy time. Me, on the other hand, I wasn't very well liked in this last job because what I had learned was to stop giving a fuck. And they didn't like that. Now, granted, I told you, before this, I worked that job where I was working every day, all day. But I was working those two jobs at the same time. During that, I was applying for positions, whether it be management or anything higher up than just an entry-level grunt work position. I was applying for jobs, and I was being denied the jobs every single time. Now, this goes back to what I was saying earlier. They would delegate certain tasks to me or give me certain roles of seeming leadership on the surface. They would allow me to lead my team, especially because both of my jobs had pretty high turnovers. So it would always be some new guys up under me anyway. And for me to have stuck it out on both of these jobs at the time, I had seniority and I had knowledge that the new guys didn't have. So I would always end up in leadership roles, whether I'm training somebody or I got people working up under me and me telling them what to do. So clearly I was capable of leadership, right? They were able to trust me in leading people to do their jobs correctly. I trained dozens and dozens of people, dozens, if not hundreds of people, because the turnover rate in all three of my jobs that I've ever had, really, really, really high. So I've trained a lot of people in my day, which shows that I have the capability of being a leader and teaching. But when it came time to get a job, to get paid for that teaching, to get paid for that leadership, everybody would always twiddle their thumbs and look the other way. So I started finding out that it don't matter how hard I work, they're not going to respect me for whatever their reason might be. I don't know what it is. A lot of times I thought it was racial. Sometimes I thought it was ageism. A lot of times I fell victim to nepotism. It would be other people that would get the job because they were related or because they liked them better or because they were friends. And I wouldn't get the job. And then sometimes I just didn't get the job because I was fucking terrible at interviews. But the point is working harder and showing up every day and showing up when I was sick, training their employees, staying extra, working off the clock, never got me anywhere. They don't give a fuck about you. I learned that I didn't learn it very quickly. I didn't learn it quickly enough, but I did learn it nonetheless. Because I found out through trial and error that it doesn't matter how hard I worked, how much I did, how much I sacrificed my body, how many times I was injured, how much the managers liked me. They weren't going to give me what they didn't think I was worthy of having because they controlled it. Right now, I work for myself. I'm in a very blessed position. It's not easy. Very uncertain, but nonetheless, I work for myself. And right now, dollar for dollar, hour for hour, pound for pound, I make more money now working less than I ever have in my adult life. This engineering thing, it's hard. It has its challenges. I wouldn't say it's hard, but it has its challenges. But it's the easiest work I've ever done, and it's the most money I've ever made. It's not about hard work. It's about the position you put yourself in with this, your mind. What value do you present to the world? What value do you bring to the table? What services do you provide to people that need it? What void do you fill? What need do you feel? That's what gets you where you need to go. I was listening to an interview that Kanye did one time, and he was breaking down how units is the key to money, not the amount of work you do, not the time you work. It's units, selling things. I always break it down to my clients like this. There are only 24 hours on a clock in a day. There are only 24 hours on a clock in a day. First of all, you got to sleep. You got to eat. You got to scratch your ass. You got to pee. You got to You got to raise your kids, in my case. So those 24 hours is dwindled down to just a few, maybe 10 hours between sleep and responsibilities. Maybe 10 hours in a day you have available to work. Okay, so that 24 have dried up to 10. If I charge $50 an hour for studio time, that caps me at my ability to make $500 in a day, right? Let's just say I work 10 hours in the studio every day. It's not going to change unless I raise my prices, or unless I get less sleep, or unless I neglect my children, or unless I neglect my responsibilities, or I never shit and pee. It's not going to change how much I can make in a day, is it? Now, if I charge $500 an hour, I maximize my profit. But then you have to ask yourself, who the is going to pay me that, right? So I'm in this position where the hours on the clock limit my ability to make money. There's only so many hours I can work. And then that's if I can even fill the slots, because I have to create the work. I have to find people to book studio time. And if I don't, I'm not working. Simple as that. But what Kanye said was units, selling items. If I create a product and I decide that this product is worth $100 a piece, and I make 100 items, that's $10,000 worth of product. Now, with that product, I can make $10,000 in one day if I sell the product in one day. Look at Super Scent, wear makeup. Or look at Rihanna, or look at Kanye with his shoes. It's not physical man hours that make wealth. It's product. It's assets. If Kanye makes 100,000 pairs of shoes and they all cost $500 a piece, you know what I'm saying? He doesn't have to physically do anything. He ship his items out to these stores that all get a percentage of the income, but he could be at home texting or on Twitter or arguing with motherfuckers or having sex with his wife or beefing with Drake, making billions of dollars in the process without lifting a finger. The only work he had to put in was the creation of the product, whether that be designing, logistics, marketing, but he had people for all of that stuff. You see what I'm saying? Through that, he's delegating his responsibilities through people and still becomes a millionaire by doing minimal work. It's not about how hard you work. It's about how smart you work. Products, units. I can sell studio time for $50 an hour. I'm pointing up here because my prices are up here on the board. I can sell $50 worth of studio time for an hour, right? 1 hour. But I can make a t-shirt and sell 10 t-shirts at $25 a piece in 20 minutes or an hour, 2 hours. I can make $250 in an hour. Whatever, 10 t-shirts Whatever it is, 100 t-shirts, 10 t-shirts. Let's say I sold 10 t-shirts for $25 a piece. And let's just say I went to a venue, a little seller's venue market, and sold 10 t-shirts at $25 a piece. It's a little bullshit t-shirt. It's just a t-shirt, but I still sold 10 of those t-shirts for $25 a piece and made $250 however long it took me. Now the power comes in if you have a name for yourself, you're really good at marketing, you're famous, you're known, you draw attention, you can move units faster based on who you are, the charisma that you possess, the marketing that you know how to do, whatever it is, that these variables that dictate how fast you can move units. But that's where the power is. Hourly work is a scam. Because while you working for Chrysler for $30 an hour, $35 an hour, $27 an hour, whatever it is, they selling cars for $80,000 a piece. It's not a scam in a bad way. I'm saying it's a scam in that we as Americans, we as people in capitalistic societies have been taught to work hard hourly, and I'm talking about just about that. Go get a day job and work all day. You know, work all the overtime you can, work 50, 60 hours a week. That's a scam. It's never going to get you anywhere. It's a hamster wheel. The power is in what Chrysler is getting you to produce to sell. Because they'll make 10,000 cars and sell them all for 80,000, 50,000, 30,000 a piece. That's so much money. The people that work at these companies know how much money these companies are making. They're making billions. They're printing money. Between the Ram and these Chargers and these Durangos and these Challengers that Chrysler is making right now, some of these cars going for $120,000 between the Trackhawk and the Wagoneer. They got you producing product for an hourly wage, and then they making money hand over fist selling units. It ain't about hard work. It's about smart work. You doing the hard work, and the leaders of Chrysler, Daimler, or whatever the company is now, Stellantis, they're working smart because they got you doing the footwork while they doing the brain work. All they got to do is figure out how to move product, units, how to market their vehicles, designing their vehicles, improving their vehicles. You know, I'm not saying that is without merit. I'm not saying those jobs are not hard work, but I am saying that the real hard work is done by usually the people on the bottom, not the top. The way to wealth is through assets, ownership. I mean, I won't even say that because that's a whole different topic. Sometimes ownership is overrated, but we can talk about that later. But the point of me saying ownership is that if you own the product, if you own the company, you get the lion's share more than likely, right? You could be a hairdresser or a barber, or you can own the barbershop and just be getting booth rent from these barbers and not even have to lift a finger. That's smart work, not hard work. You know, and then more importantly, even further into this topic, in another way I can approach this topic. I was on Instagram like an hour and a half ago. Let me find this video real quick. If I remember correctly, I will put it into this actual video. But I'm going to play the audio of it right now. Give me 1 second. I'm so sorry. My phone's loading.
What is the number one thing?
What is the number one thing people regret before they die?
And this study is made by a nurse that was taking care of like patients at an old what do you call those?
Retirement home.
Retirement home. Yes, nursery home. Starting at number 5. I wish I had let myself be happier. Let yourself be more happier. Number 4 is I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends.
Wow.
Many have become so caught up on their own lives that they had let go of the golden friendships. Number 3, we have, I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. Number 2, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. That is powerful right there. Because the whole thing with this is like they lost time with their loved ones and family members because they got caught up on the hard work that they disconnect from relationships. Right?
Now listen to what he just said. That was the end of the video. It cut off abruptly. But listen to what he just said. I don't know how true this story is that he's telling, but it doesn't matter because I've heard this from people myself. You work so hard. Imagine you working and dedicating your life to a goal, to a career, your whole life, whether it be your company or a job that you have or a high-level position in some other company or whatever it is. You're a manager, whatever it is that you do. Imagine you devote all your time to this thing. Let's say you got kids and you got family. Man, life, I don't believe in the saying that life is short. I don't think life is short. But I think life can be short based on your perspective and how you spend your time. I had this conversation with my dad one day, the day of my uncle's funeral, 10 years ago. I think we were on the way to the funeral home to bury my uncle. And we were having a conversation about the perception of time and how we relate to it, me and my dad. And I said, life is long. Life is long as hell. There's nothing short about life. For some, there's, people die young and people never get to really live. People die as kids. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the average person that lives 70, 80 years. There's nothing short about that. To me, that's my perception, my perspective, and my perception of time. I'm 35. I feel like I've lived 4 lives already. My 30s feel like a life in their own. My 20s feel like a life. My teens feel like a life. And as a kid, it felt like a different life than all of that. And it all feels disjointed and disconnected and different. I felt like different people at different times. I've had different friend groups for different reasons, different jobs. I've lived in different places. I've traveled. Life is long. I'm only 34. I'm 34. I'll be 35 this year. Life is long. Life is long. Let's just say if I live to 65, 70, 75, 80, that means I'm not even halfway done. If I live to 65, I'm more than halfway done. If I live to 80, I'm not even halfway done. All the people that I've known, all the people that I've seen die, all the places that I've been, all the food that I've had, friends that I've had that I'll never talk to again, people that I haven't met yet, relationships that I've had, restaurants, movies, all these things that I've done and experienced in 35 years, 34 years. It's a lot of stuff. And I just got started. I still got to see the rest of my 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, God willing, 70s, 80s. I just got off the phone with my auntie a couple hours ago, just called her to tell her I love her. She 80. That means she was born in the 40s, brother. Think about all the things that she's seen, and she's still living. She saw Martin Luther King rise and fall, Malcolm X rise and fall, Elijah Muhammad rise and fall, Louis Farrakhan rise and rise and rise. She's seen the civil rights movement. She saw the Million Man March. She saw the rise of hip hop. She saw disco music come and go. She saw John Wayne, all of these things, you know what I'm saying? Michael Jackson rise to fame and die. She saw Prince. She saw all of these things, and she's still living. That's a lot of life to live. You know what I'm saying? She was born in the 50s or 40s, bro. That's a long time. Right? I'm saying all this to say, bro, we work, we work, and we work. My perception of life is that life is long. But if you take that approach, of course, people saying life is short because you spent it all indoors doing something that some other man told you to do. Now, I'm not trying to shame people with jobs. I'm just talking about the way that we relate to it, the way that we view it, how important we make it in our lives. If you bury yourself in your career and then you look up and your kids are grown and you don't remember none of it, or you don't have any memories really formulated with the people that you love. This video just said one of the biggest regrets of people on their deathbeds or in the later stages of their life in general is that they wish they had spent more time or kept in touch with their friends, and they wish they had spent more time being happy and they spent more time expressing themselves. And what do you think that means? Doesn't that mean that the things that are most important to us when we're checking out of this motherfucker are the things that we paid no attention to when we spent all this time grinding, no days off, no sleep when I'm dead? What about your kids? What about going to the park with your kids? How do you do that if you work 7 days a week? I quit my job, and it's not because I'm a quitter, a coward. I quit my job because I was losing my motherfucking mind. I was in there losing my mind. I couldn't take it. I hated my bosses. I felt like they were all incompetent. They were not smarter than me. They were telling me what to do. I hated the fact that I had to spend all of my waking hours in this building with low light and poor conditions and dust everywhere, and it's bleak. Everybody talking about the same stories over and over every day, all my coworkers. And I got to come here and listen to them and being told what to do by some motherfucker that don't care about me at all. And I quit, bro. My last job that I had, I just didn't show up anymore. I was on a game with my cousin. Me and him was playing PlayStation. I think we were playing Monster Hunter. I remember the exact, I know where I was sitting, what we was playing, what I was wearing damn near. And it was approaching 6 o'clock where it was time for me to start getting ready for work. And I was like, all right, bro, I'm about to get off here and get ready for work. And I stood up, turned my PlayStation off. I stood there, and I was just like, I can't do it. I sat back down. I turned my headset back on, got back on the PlayStation with my cousin. My cousin like, what you doing? I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I'm not going back to work. I had just decided, like, I'm not doing this shit no more. And he like, what? He like, you done or something? I don't remember what the conversation went like exactly. But he was laughing like, what you mean? And like, you done? I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm done. And I remember my girl at the time, I think she was on her way home from work. And she was like, why you not getting ready? And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm done. And she like, what you mean you done? Like, you not going to work today? Or you like, you quit? And I'm like, I quit. And she was like, well, congratulations. And then I think she had like, what you want for dinner or something. It wasn't a cowardly move. It wasn't because I couldn't do it. It was just because I got to this place mentally, and I had just had my son too. I was just in this place mentally where I'm like, this is not it. This is not what my life is supposed to be. I got to figure out a better way. I got to do something that makes me happy. You know, I spent all of my life, I was about 29, 30 years old at this time. I spent all my life watching all this inspirational shit, whether it be speeches or documentaries or self-help books or whatever it was. Listening to people talk about the concept of chasing your dreams and doing what you want to do and taking your destiny into your own hands and things like that. And I always internalize these things and I listen like, yeah, that's right. But then you never do it. And then you just get ready for work and go to work. When are you going to listen to yourself is what I was asking me. When are you going to listen to this advice? When are you going to enact it? When are you going to do something with the knowledge that you've gained about controlling your destiny? How many interviews are you going to watch? How many spiritual documentaries are you going to watch about people that took their lives into their own hands or started businesses and all of these things before you do it yourself? I was mad at myself. And I still am to some degree because I got a long way to go. But I feel like quitting my job that day on a whim was like one of the best decisions I ever made because it launched me into this, it catapulted me down this path that I never thought I would ever be on. I remember dreaming about being in this position, being entrenched in this world of music like this, having people come to me seeking my opinion, getting their music done through me, production-wise, mixing-wise, recording-wise. And now it's a reality. I do this every day. I can't believe it. It's real. It's not easy. I still struggle, and I got a long way to go. I still got to build my name some more. Still got to gain more clientele. But I can't believe that this is real. And it just took one seemingly irrational decision that I made one day. Was just like, I'm tired of working at this company. I want to do something different. And then I just started doing shit my way. Through the blessings of my family. Through the blessings of my family. I wouldn't have been able to do this without my mama, my cousin, my homeboy. They gave me a lot of opportunity and a lot of help that I still feel guilty for every single day. I feel guilty for it. My father too, and my sister too. Whew, but I had to do that. I had to figure out something else. My son being born lit a fire under my ass because all I could think about was like, I don't want this for him either. So how can I tell my son, how can I teach my son to do things the way he wants to do them if I don't have the courage to do that shit myself? So I quit. And then I started working for a studio, and then I started this studio. This is my second studio. But I only did this to be free. I did it to be free. I did it to do things on my own terms. Right now, and maybe for the last year and a half, last year or so, I've been in this position where I felt like one thing that I failed to mention in these different stages of working these jobs and moving to different apartments and things, I always get to this place and in my spirit, it's not in my mind, it's in my spirit, it's in my very being. I feel this need, or I feel this feeling like something needs to change. Something has to happen next. For the last year and a half, I've been in this studio feeling like something else is about to happen. Something else needs to happen. I need to grow because I feel stagnant. Right now, that's how I feel. The studio thing is fine. I love mixing. The studio thing, recording people for $50 an hour is cool. But I don't like doing this anymore, and I don't want to be doing this anymore. Not because it's hard, not because it's annoying. It is annoying, but that's not why. It's because I feel like I've grown beyond that now. Now it's time for me to hire other engineers and make them do that. Have employees and pay them an hourly salary to come in here and work studio time without me, and I just make residual income. That's what happens next. Now, how I get there, I have no idea. I have an idea. That's not true. I have an idea, but how to execute the idea, I don't really know how to do that yet. I need help. I need help executing that. I need help moving to this next stage. But I will. But I know it's something, it always happens. I was working my first job and then I had this feeling, this gut feeling like something got to change. So I got that second job, worked 2 jobs. And then doing that, I'm like, this is not enough. I need a better job, something more. Then my homeboy Antoine got me a new job. I started working there. When I was working there, I moved up. Within a year, I moved to a different position, making more money. And then working that position, I hated it so much. And I eventually got another position. But in all of these transitions, it was always my soul bumping up against what I was doing in disagreements. And it was time for me to figure out what the next step was. Right now, I'm there again, and I just got to figure out the logistics between point A and the next stage, which is point B. But I'm working towards being able to work smarter, selling units, having people do the work for me, and me being just the manager of the operation, the owner of the operation, because hard work is not the key. And I'm not saying hard work. I'm saying be diligent and be tenacious and be all of these things that you need to be in all of the things that you do. I'm not saying don't work hard, but I'm saying breaking your back is not the answer. Dan Gilbert got thousands of people working for him. He not giving motherfuckers loans personally. I mean, maybe he is, but you know what I'm saying. He got other people to do that. He provides the capital and the structure and the infrastructure to allow that company to thrive the way that it does. He's a billionaire. He's outside doing whatever he want to do, essentially. He got vacation homes. He owned this. He owned that. He owned whatever he want to own. He got buildings all over the city and in Cleveland and all of that. You know, he not out here going door to door. That's not the key. Kanye became a billionaire by leveraging his name and selling units. Jay-Z sold units of a lot of things: clothing, shoes, music, alcohol, whatever. Units, not hourly work. Take a day off. Spend time with your family. That's what's important. Don't break your back and drive yourself into an early grave trying to listen to these rappers talk about no days off, and then you fuck around and your kids be 25 years old and you don't have no memories with them. You got family members dying left and right like I do. Dying and going to jail and getting shot and losing limbs and shit all through my family. Motherfuckers separated on either side of the country and you don't know what's going on. Being disconnected from what made you who you are because you so wrapped up in the daily grind of a job or some shit. I ain't got to explain this shit to the T, man. Y'all can fill in the blanks and figure out the rest. My name is Red Karan, man. This is episode 11 of Streams. I'm very proud of what I'm building here. And there's more to come. I got more things to do. But until then, man, I love y'all. I hope y'all are still enjoying the content. And if you ain't enjoying it, I'm going to just keep making this content that's true to me until somebody finds it that do like it. So holla, man. Hit the like, hit the subscribe on your way out this motherfucker. I appreciate you. I'm out.
Cause life's a phony bitch. If age is just numbers, then why we fear time? Reincarnation, maybe Haile Selassie this time. What incarnation? Maybe I'm a philosopher slime. They still talk shit about me, cut back your gossiping time. Dinosaurs down to the fossils, gray hair follicles.